Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paulman, Dutch Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 218. Hard to believe that we got that far, but we have. If you're new, welcome. Glad that you're here. If you're been here for a while, excellent. Always subscribe, hit the like button. We're available on YouTube every Friday, and then also on Facebook group, which is Position to Win Book, Facebook group. Talk about things that pop into my head, kind of veer away from the political for the most part, but we talk about a variety of topics as we are today. With me, as always, is the ever lovely Sandra. She is in your position of asking me these questions. So, Sandra, welcome.
Hello, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Sandra, for those of you who are fans of Sandra, shout. Yeah. She's been harboring some kind of wheezing and coughing thing, but she's going to make it through and all of that. So there's a bonus. How many times has she coughed? That's how many times she consumed liquor. Just kidding. But yeah, because anyway. All right. So what do we? So hopefully you're feeling better.
Yes, definitely. Still got the gunkies a little bit, but energy is much better by far.
That's it. All right. So what are we talking about today?
All right, so we're talking about the lure of easy money. So how would you define the lure of easy money?
Well, easy money is one of those things that seems to be a human trait. We like the idea of easy money. Money just drops on us and we got it and it's going to be great. And I really saw this during my Vegas days where people would show up and they would hit and they would win money. And once they won money, they just like, oh God, this is so great. I mean, I've won this money. And then of course they would take whatever that event was and then just blow it out that they were hot, they were on that lucky streak, they were going to be there, and and they didn't leave. And in fact, if I had $100, not a dollar, but $100 for every time somebody said, if only I had left dot, or well, only I left when. And that's just the reality that nobody leaves the tables. And I always used to talk about how if you look very carefully at the craps table or playing blackjack or whatever game that you might be playing, is that there's all these little almost imperceptible tiny gold chains that chain people to these games of chance, because once they start winning, do they leave? Nope, they hang in there until they blow it all out. So I think that that's just a big deal. And so I would define easy money as people think of it as money that they didn't necessarily earn. It fell on their lap, and wow, it's just pennies from heaven, or actually hundreds from heaven would be better.
All right, and is it just gambling in Vegas that easy money takes place?
Every get rich quick scheme, every this is a no fail. It's going to just go from zero to hero in almost no time. And the point of doing this section for everybody is that I, like you, none of us are perfect. We all get sucked into this whole mindset. So easy money is everywhere. Every time somebody calls me up out of the blue and says, hey, we haven't gotten together in a long time, I'd like to tell you about, usually it's some kind of easy money scheme. It's some kind of crazy knuckleheaded idea, something that they thought was going to work, that was going to make them a ton of money, or whatever it was going to be. I gotta say that I've heard so many of these pitches in my life, it's not even funny. So Vegas is not the only place. It's an easy place to watch it. I mean, it's prevalent every single second of every single day. In fact, most of the people who I met while I was in Vegas moved to Vegas because it was going to be easy money. Not a lot of easy money in Vegas. A lot of hard money, a lot of tough money, lots of things like that, but there wasn't a lot of easy money. So it is pervasive all over the world.
And where have you seen it?
Well, speed selling started, hard to believe, 20-something years ago. And what it would happen is I would go speak on stage, people would hear me, and then they would say, wow, maybe this guy is interested in a business opportunity, which I have to say, yes, I was. But the thing about it is that, they would call me on the phone. So these guys call me on the phone, and they had met me at a seminar that I spoke at. and they said, hey, we'd like to get together with you. They happen to live close by, so we meet, in a neutral corner kind of thing. And they start talking to me about this great thing that they're working on, and it's going to be this breakthrough. It's going to be a ton of money. And it turns out that it's an MLM. By the way, anybody, and if you're one of the few that's made money on it, good for you. Most of the time, it is just wreckage of people's lives with MLMs. But anyway, these guys start telling me about how they've got this MLM and they've got this amazing technology. And usually it's like vitamins, or it's glop, put glop on your face and you look younger, or, it's going to regrow your hair, or it's going to do whatever, right? So it's always something like that, because of course those have repeatable business that you can go get into, or it appears that you do. So they tell me that they have this thing called this patch. And of course, I was very familiar with how the patch works, the transdermal patch. And I'm reading their promotional material, and it says transdermal patch. And I'm like, guys, wow. I mean, is this truly a transdermal patch? Well, for those of you who don't know, there was a guy who invented it named Danny Panos, and he became a very rich man. In fact, he couldn't get anybody in the U.S. to take it up, so he moved to Switzerland, started a pharmaceutical company, and the transdermal patch that you see, I'm sure the patents have probably run their course, but still, there's new improvements on it. But what it was is that it's the realization that if you have medication or you have some substance that you want to absorb through the skin, it's a great way to do it, because it's a slow release. That means that, you're not popping a pill every so often. And, and they started doing it now. The nicotine patch is like the number one. And I said, so you guys know about these guys and all that, and of course they were absolutely clueless of it. And of course they said, oh no, it's just out there. Well, all I can tell you is that very little technology is just out there without a string attached to it. So I tell them a little bit about the story, and they're like, really? That guy invented it? Yeah, somebody actually invented it. It didn't just fall from the sky. And then I said, well, okay, so how are you guys going to pay me? Now, this is where the easy money comes in. And I mean, Sandra, I don't want you to cut off in mid-session to go race out to go do this. So, constrain yourself.
All right.
I know. So they said, well, listen, since we're an MLM, we're not going to pay you any money. And I went, okay. What we're going to do is we're going to put you, and this isn't really how it should work, really, but what we'll do is we'll put you in our downline, and that means everybody below us is really below you, and you're going to make a ton of money. Oh, ton of dough. It's going to be fantastic and all of that. And I said, well, sadly, fellas, I think I'm going to have to pass on this. For one thing, I think you guys are going to get in trouble and bad things are going to happen. Now, there's a funny postscript to Danny Panos' story, is that this is how much money he made over the years from this invention of this delivery mechanism, which is really what it is. It's a medical, or it's a substance delivery mechanism. So he made enough money to fund a couple of racing teams. He built actually what he did was he bought 600 acres in Georgia, and he bought, I got to say it right, he bought a chateau in France, and they disassembled it, and then they brought it over, and then they reassembled it, because of course he didn't want them to build it new, he wanted an old new kind of thing. Ironically, the nicotine patch is the number one use of transdermal that I know of, and Danny Panos was a smoker to the end, and because he was a smoker to the end, he only flew private because the guy was like a chain smoker all of his life. How's that for a little bit of irony in all of this? But yes, that was where I saw easy money, and there you go.
So whatever happened to those guys?
Well, it's kind of funny because they disappeared, and then I kind of had them in my feed, and the whole thing got blown up, of course, because they were sued for patent infringement. They were shut down and ordered to destroy all the inventory that they had, borrowed money from people you probably don't want to borrow money from, and of course blew it up. And I was not surprised about that. I was not even close to being surprised, but I was like, you got to be kidding me. I mean, you guys didn't check this stuff out. You didn't even know that this was going to happen, and what all of that was all about, which of course leads us to what you probably should do to make sure that you don't get yourself in these kinds of issues, even if it's not easy money, if it's regular, good old fashioned, we're going to be successful. Well, if you're going to be successful, here's what you got to do. You go out and you pick up my book. You pick up my book, shameless plug, pick up my book. Most businesses fail in their first 5 minutes. They didn't realize that the transdermal patch wasn't a freebie. Well, they said, hey, we had a supplier who said it was going to be okay. Not so fast. Also, there's like these, agencies and everything, but all right, so most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to win. So pick this book up. You can get it 3 ways. Number one, you can get it from our website, which is positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Also, you can get it from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever physical books are sold. You can order it, and they will get you a physical copy. Only time it's autographed is if it's from our website. Also, you can get it digitally, and get it digitally by going to Amazon Kindle, Barnes & Noble Nook, or Apple iBooks. And then the other side of it is we have another book called Remote Work for a Better World. And Remote Work for a Better World is only available exclusively on the Amazon Kindle format. And you can pick that up and do whatever you do. In that regard, if you go to the positiontowinbook.com website, you will find that you can get a Raging Verbalist mug. So you can have Raging Verbalist every morning, afternoon, whenever. I wouldn't use it to drink like tea at night to settle down, because it's all about being a Raging Verbalist. All right, Sandra, what is our next question?
All right, so surely with the internet, people know more.
Well, you would think so, but in fact, the internet is a giant amplifier of crazy schemes, and all kinds of crazy just blows out because of the internet, through, Substack and Reddit and all of these other things. People are just reading about this, and they get sucked into, especially like somebody who has a personality, and they start talking about this stuff, and whether it's on YouTube or Rumble or Odyssey or whatever place you find it, and they, people just start talking about this great, crazy idea, and then before you know it, everybody's going nuts about it, and it just goes way over the top. And you see this on a variety of things, including like people playing the stock market who really probably shouldn't be playing the stock market, and people just getting pulled into this. And there's a whole community out there. And the sad part about it is that all you have to do is go in and actually say, okay, how do I dissect this? How do I do some thinking? But of course, once you have that, if you will, the ether going for easy money, your head just starts spinning and you go, wow, I'm going to make a shitload of money. This is fantastic. And they get inhaled into it. So yes, the internet it has lots of things that will tell you bad things about people, but there's a lot of hype that goes on out there. And I always love watching the videos. Whenever I see the video of a guy who's like 28 years old, has the Lambo, and has the hot models and has all that, I just harken back to watching people getting rich in real estate. And by the way, those people are on there too. But the good old days of when I was on that speaking circuit, and watching people get up there and just do all kinds of crazy, bullshit that really was easy money, which wasn't true.
And wasn't there a movie about GameStop?
Oh, GameStop was a great example. So GameStop, and the movie's called Dumb Money. If you go and watch it, and I went and saw it in the theaters because I wanted to know that. I actually played GameStop. Disclaimer, and I'm not trying to encourage anybody to do this. I actually play the options market. You have to know what you're doing, and even if you do, you got to know, you're an adult. Don't go crying or anything. So the GameStop movie tells you about what happened, and it gives you kind of a complete story, but it leaves out one key component. So if you go down in the comments and tell me exactly what they left out of the movie, which is very, very critical, which is why it worked, why the dumb money made money, but understand that that's one time, but it wasn't easy money Well, it was for a while until, a lot of people got blown out. So yes, they made a movie about it. It's out there, and it's not too bad. But what you should do is watch it as a way to somewhat inoculate yourself. See, if you're drawn to the story and say, yes, I want to see those kind of deals happening for me. Bad news. In fact, a friend of mine had an employee who's also, kind of a friend, and this guy had made a bunch of money in GameStop, and I called him up on a mission of mercy to try to convince him to sell some of this stuff, because he bought it. He was watching this guy, charismatic guy, and they were buying GameStop, and we're going to ride it to the moon. And I said, sell some of this, because guess what? I'm playing GameStop too, and I'm selling it, and I'm out. Get some dough off the table. Luckily, he did, because, well, all of these end up the same way, in a sad and down crash and explosion. So yes, they did a movie called not GameStop, but Dumb Money. Dumb Money.
All right. And have you seen businesses get pulled into the easy money scheme?
Hard to believe, but there are businesses out there, well-run businesses, and because growth may be slowing, or they want to get to that next level, or they want to get to a breakthrough or something, they will become enamored with something and say, this is going to be the next big thing, even if it doesn't even get close to what they're already doing. So they get pulled into it, and they go chasing easy money. And we see this over and over again. And if you want to go watch a great documentary about people getting pulled in a big way, go watch, I think it's called Blood Money, and it's all about, Theranos. And wow, yes, people get sucked into it, and people who should know better get sucked into it. In fact, I have talked to many venture capitalists who, for whatever reason, will see something and go, well, we're going to take a flyer on this. That usually means that they're going to get sucked into some easy money. All I can tell you is that easy money is hard to do, because it's easier to pitch easy money than to deliver the easy money. And that's really at the heart of it. In fact, I had a person, again, I met her at an event that I was at, spoke at there. She says, hey, I've got this opportunity with these guys. And these guys were building a new search engine. Google had just started blowing and obliterating everybody. I mean, that really should have been Terminator 3, Google, the destruction of all of the other search engines. And the little wheels crushing the skulls of the nerds who made the other search engines. And literally, she had thousands and thousands of dollars of her own money into this search engine, and said, John, can you help us out? And the only thing at that point in time was to say, probably need to just stop feeding these guys. Of course, well, they never made it. They never went anywhere. In fact, all the money got lost.
And where did you get the line? Excuse me. The lure of easy money has a very strong appeal.
Well, there's a Glenn Fry song, Glenn Fry of Eagles fame, and he wrote this thing called Smuggler's Blues. So I have to almost, I have to put it on, put on the smuggler's glasses, just so I get into the milieu, if you will. And the line specifically is, it's the lure of easy money. It's got a very strong appeal. And every time I ever hear that song, every time I ever get pitched a deal where I think this is going to be great deal, but maybe just a little bit too good a deal, I just gotta play that song like about a dozen times to really ask some tough questions, because that lure of easy money, it really does want to pull you in. Who doesn't want to make crazy returns on your dough? Who doesn't want to do some of these things? Now, the funny part about it is that there are often times where there are things that you really could make a bunch of money on that people don't do for whatever reason. And part of it is that usually it doesn't sound as sexy or as exciting or as whatever it is. So I got it from Glenn Fry, and all I can tell you is Smuggler's Blues. They had a great, video that they did for it. So if you want to go check that out, but I can tell you that may give you a certain pause before you part with the cash. Pause before you part with the cash. Maybe we should just do that like a little bracelet that has electroshocks you if you're going to go doing something stupid.
All right. And how does someone develop a sense when there's an easy money attraction going on?
If the numbers sound too crazy, if it sounds too easy, if somebody leaves out a bunch of things, it's usually about omission. It's usually about some of those things. They leave out the 4-letter word called work, and they talk about how everything is going to fall into place and it's all just going to, and then when they start quoting people who have had extraordinary success, and you say, okay, and you pick whichever group you want to pick, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, the boys of Google, Zuck, any of these, once they start talking about those people, you want to meet the person that they're claiming has that kind of skill and talent and capability and see if that person really does. The reason why we can name them as because, and there are more than those, headliners. The reason why we can name them is the fact that there are so very few people who actually live up to that. You want to get really good at having a bullshit detector and in fact know what, is going on, because if it smells, and stop and don't put any more money in it. And this has happened before, it will happen again. You can get excited about something, but what you want to always do is do your homework, get smarter, and then keep trying to tell yourself, you know what, I don't want to get sucked into an easy money mindset, because it makes me very vulnerable to somebody who will whisper in my ear that this thing is going to be amazing and work out very well. I have had great success in my life. I have had catastrophic failures in my life, and I can tell you that oftentimes the catastrophic failures were the fact that I was looking at the easy money instead of looking at the hard, cold facts. Do that, and you have a much better chance of being successful. I hope what we've done is that this has been a cautionary tale, because the internet is laced and full, and it just keeps permeating, and AI is going to be even crazier, because everybody wants to have that lure of easy money. It has a very strong appeal. And my suggestion to you is take a breath, look at it. If the numbers look good, invest what you can afford to lose, and know what you can possibly do. But you have to know yourself, and most people do not do that. Now, for myself, John Paul Mendoza, Dr. Speed Selling, and the ever lovely Sandra, this has been the Raging Verbalist number 218. Have a great one, and be cautious and careful, and protect your money as you would any other most important thing that you have in your life. See you next time.